Casey, former rugby player. I hate using that term because I'm sure you could still play, but former professional rugby player with Munster and Grenoble, and all-around nice guy according to social media, which is why I'm ringing you. How are you getting on? How's COVID-19 treating you? The lockdown?
It's going grand, Dan. Yeah, good to see you again. Yeah, not much exciting really going on. Just trying to keep busy really with study and a bit of exercise when I can. So it's obviously a bit of a frustrating time for everyone, but a far more frustrating time for other people than it is for me. Like, so staying positive and keeping busy, and it'll all be over before too long, hopefully.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Now, the reason I'm ringing you is you put out a shout out on social media. I think it was over the weekend, maybe, that if anyone had some elderly family or friends, maybe Munster fans, whatever, that might like a call from yourself just to chat and pass the time and talk, maybe rugby or sport, whatever. I'm sure you've gotten a big reaction. It seems like you've gotten a big reaction. You've made some calls. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to get as good a reaction as I got, though, to be honest. It's just one of those things. Like, I suppose, I think it comes out of gratitude, really. Like, I know everyone's really grateful for the work everyone on the front line is doing, and like that goes from like hospitals, like doctors, nurses, cleaners, porters, everyone, to all the auxiliary stuff like couriers, the postmen and women, people working in supermarkets. Like, they're kind of playing a really fundamental role in kind of steering the country through this. But I know a lot of people are very grateful for that, but and will be very keen to help. But obviously, when your job is to predominantly stay at home, there's limited ways that you can help out. And I suppose that, like, I know I'm always very conscious that elderly people have a tough and at the best of times, but particularly now, like if people are in high risk groups, or if people are over 70 and they're stuck in the house, particularly if their partner might have passed away, or if they're not married, it can be a very lonely time, I would imagine. So it was just with a view to trying to give a bit of company to people, really, and have an adder about rugby. So, I mean, obviously, as you know yourself, rugby is probably what I know best. So that was kind of the way that I thought that I might be able to just give a bit of a hand to people in a very small way.
So what have these chats been like? Are these people expecting the calls? I'm sure they are. And then do you just literally, like we are now, or just shoot the breeze, talk about old times? Is there a couple of fellas in there getting slags in about your Shannon days? I'm sure if you're ringing the wrong club men, if you get a young Munster or a young man. But are they just general jovial chats, as you said, to break up the day for everyone?
Yeah, like it's been a real mix. Like, the conversations have been fascinating for me. I'd imagine far more interesting for me than they have been for the people I've been ringing, to be honest. All sorts of people, really. Like, I chatted to some really inspirational people in the last couple of days. Like, I was speaking to a guy who had a bad car accident 20 years ago, and he's paralyzed from the chest down, and he's actually been bedbound for 3 years, and hasn't been able to leave his bedroom due to another illness for the last year. So that's a real eye opener in terms of perspective. I mean, I'm sure you're the same as me, Dan. We kind of be giving out that we can't do X, Y, and Z at the moment, but really, it kind of, conversations like that really put things in perspective for you. People kind of, I have a newfound respect for cold callers now that I wouldn't have had before, because not everyone knows that the call is coming. Actually, most people don't know that the call is coming. They haven't been teed up, so you're kind of trying to introduce it in the least bizarre way possible. But, like, ultimately, when you break it down, it's just some stranger ringing someone that's managed to get their hands on their number. So, but people, like, yeah, kind of once the introduction to the made, people are just happy to chat about whatever. Like, I was chatting to a guy who's still a harbour master in Dublin. He's retirement age now, but he was at sea for kind of 30 years, and I find that kind of stuff fascinating anyway. So I've probably found it as beneficial as anyone else, to be honest, in terms of breaking up the day and getting to chat to some interesting people.
Yeah, there's a guy I'd love to speak to myself, actually. I'd like to pick his brain. But so tell me, what kind of questions then are people coming out with? Because anytime you meet a rugby player outside of a context, so I'd only ever meet them and get a chance to ask them, you know yourself over the years with our stagnated press conferences, and ask about next week and the week before and blah, blah, blah. But, like, what kind of questions you get asked? Because, like, I'm sure some people have gone, what's Paul O'Connell really like?
It's like it's pretty general for the most part. Yeah, like I suppose you can get into it. You can get into the nitty gritty with people in a way that you kind of wouldn't be able to when you're talking to the likes yourself, Don, or anyone else in the media. When you're giving a press conference, you have to be a bit more guarded as you're only too familiar, I'm sure. But yeah, like just people. A lot of people asking about France, I suppose, because that's not something that people are terribly familiar with at the moment. And I really enjoy talking about France because France is rugby in France in particular is a totally different experience to what it is here. Like it retains a lot of the more amateur elements of rugby that probably would have been very common in places like Munster in the early days of professionalism, probably up until just before the European Cup victories. But just by nature, the fact that rugby's gone so professional, you kind of see less and less of that now. But you'd still see a lot of the kind of more, I suppose, the more irresponsible stuff in France, like like guys smoking, that kind of thing. Like there was a guy that came to play with us last year who played in Brive previously, and Brive had I think he was a second row who was club captain for years. He was a real stalwart of the place, and he at every home game he used to go out to fire escape at half time and have a fag. Like this is a guy playing top 14 rugby, getting very handsomely paid for it. So little quirks like that that you obviously wouldn't expect to see here. Stuff that would make the newspapers here and probably result in a guy getting a suspension from the club for a couple of weeks is just kind of laughed at over there. So it's been really enjoyable talking about France. And then as well, like people asking about Axel as well. Obviously, I was lucky in that I got to work with Axel for kind of a close level at various different stages of my career. Like so from 20s right the way up to senior rugby when he was the head coach. We kind of worked at every level kind of along that path together. So a lot of people are curious about him and chatting about what it was like when Razzie came in, what it was like to in hindsight have worked with World Cup winners now at this point as well. So it's been a really mixed bag. But to be honest, the bulk of the chat it doesn't necessarily relate to rugby. It's just general chit chat about sport and life in general. So they're just very enjoyable conversations to have, done.
Yeah, phenomenal that you've done this and reached out, and I'm sure people are very, very appreciative of it at the time. So if someone wants to get in touch, is it through Twitter you were saying, through your DMs there, just drop you a line and you'll try and get to those calls if you can?
That's right, yeah. So if someone has an idea of someone that would appreciate a phone call, they can feel free to send me a direct message on Twitter. They're open, so anyone can send a message to me in that respect. And I'll get to everyone all right. It might take me a little while, but I will definitely get to everyone on the list. But I think I know Andrew Conway has kind of jumped on board now on his Instagram, and he's kind of kindly offering his time now. I'd imagine a lot more people would be keener to talk to him than they would to me. So maybe there won't be any more additions to my list beyond what's there at the moment. But hopefully, it'd be great if another couple of lads would get involved in it. I think, like I saw someone mention, like as I was saying, people are probably struggling to find ways to help people out at the moment. Just as I said, because like our job is to just stay out of the way and stay away from people. It's almost counterintuitive to an extent, but one thing that most people have a bit more of now is time. Particularly, say, like I don't have any kids. Or like quite a few of the lads wouldn't have kids, wouldn't necessarily outside of training have a huge time commitments at the moment. So, like if there's a way to kind of use the free time we have to kind of do something a bit productive, then I think it's definitely something that people could consider doing. So I have plenty of time at home anyway. I'm doing my job and staying at home for the most part, except when I'm going out for my little bits of exercise. So why not fill that time doing something as enjoyable as having conversations with interesting people?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget to be a lot of people who won't want to talk to a back either, so that divide will always keep forwards and backs happy for years to come. Duncan, since you finished playing, and I want to touch on this because it's something maybe I think you'll have thoughts on too, and it's something that strikes me, is that you've kept very busy. You were always doing stuff outside of rugby, and that has helped your transition into retirement. I have to give a hat tip to yourself and Duncan Williams, your podcast on the Irish Examiner. Brilliant content, very insightful. You get some of the the best quotes from those guys. You did one recently with JJ Hanrahan. I think he spoke more to you than he has for the last, how long is he playing now? 100 years. And he shared more of the two. It's very insightful for rugby fans that are interested in that kind of thing. So you seem to, from the outside, transitioned into retirement maybe easier than some might find it. Particularly in COVID-19 now, for those guys that are only recently retired, it is difficult once that routine stops.
It is, yeah. I suppose it was kind of out of necessity, really, that I had to start getting busy while I was still playing, Don, because I obviously had difficulties with injuries. So, like, I missed, the bulk of 2 seasons back to back, really. So that was the kick up the arse that I needed to go back and get stuck back into the books again and finish my studies at UL. And so, like, I think, as unfortunate as that was, it definitely was an eye-opener in terms of making me realize that, the mature thing to do was to start planning as if rugby wasn't going to last forever, which everyone knows that it won't really in their heads, but they like to pretend that it will. So, yeah, like, I've been lucky as well in the sense that I had started, I'm finishing a master's in UL at the moment, and I had started that before I went to France, and I had the first semester finished, so I was able to start that again in January, and that's been great in terms of keeping me busy at the moment. And then obviously, as you know, I would have written bits and pieces for the Examiner and the Leader over the years while I was playing, so the opportunities came up to present the podcast as well, which is gone all right so far. At least it was going all right before everything was put on pause. But yeah, like, it's never an easy thing. I mean, I think the biggest difficulty is when guys are outside of the group but try to remain, kind of a part of being inside the group itself, because that's just not something that works. And it's obviously, it's a very natural instinct for people to have, because like, essentially all the people that you spent most of the previous number of years with are still in that group. So it's natural that they're going to be your best friends, that the guys you enjoy spending time with the most. So it's an inevitable kind of instinct at a human level to want to continue to spend time with them. But I think you need to make peace with the fact that you're operating on very different schedules now, and you've got very different sets of priorities. So I've been lucky in that, like, there were quite a few of us retired more or less the same time this year. Like, there's Mike Sherry and Ron O'Mahony and Duncan Williams, as you said. We've all retired at the same time. We're all in around the same age. So there's been a good support network in that sense, probably more so than certain guys who would have retired when they were the only guys out of their group of friends who had stopped playing in a given year. So that's definitely made it easier as well. We'd kind of be on the phone to each other the whole time. We'd meet up for a few pints or whatever, just a bite to eat. So it does kind of it does allow you to retain some of that attachment to rugby, even though it's not within the current playing group, if that makes sense.
Listen, Duncan, thank you as always for your time, and even bigger thank you for doing what you're doing and helping out those people, giving them phone calls and just connecting with them at a time like this. Hopefully more will follow your suit, but they'll remember the OG, the original guy that started it off. And if anyone's watching this and gets a phone call from a number they don't recognize, just answer it, just in case it's Duncan Casey on the other end of the line. But thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Dan. Thanks very much, Sean. Cheers.
Cheers.